Okay, here's another one we need to solve. Okay, now we've got 4 different things here. So it's not a trinomial that we're solving for. We've got a polynomial. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need to do is group them, kind of like the grouping method where we group them into 2 separate things. Okay, and then factor each one of those. So basically what I'm going to do is, instead of having a polynomial, I'm going to group it into 2 binomials. So we're going to take 2x cubed plus 3x squared, and look at that as one binomial. Okay? And then we're going to have plus negative 50x plus negative 75. Okay, so plus negative 50x plus negative 75. And we're going to have that as another binomial. Okay, we just changed this to plus negative 50x, this to plus negative 75, and made it a binomial. Okay, now we're going to factor this one and factor this one separately. So, greatest common factor of 2x cubed and 3x squared. Well, that's just going to be x squared. And then x squared times 2x will give me 2x cubed, plus x squared times 3 gives me 3x squared. Okay, now we got our plus sign. Greatest common factor of negative 50x and negative 75 is going to be negative 25. And negative 25 times 2x will give me negative 50x, plus, and negative 25 times 3 will give me negative 75. Okay, so we got our grouping method set up here. So one of our factors is going to be x squared plus negative 25 times, again, we really have 2 other factors here, but since they're the same, we only need to use one of them. Okay, 2x plus 3. Because otherwise we'd get the same answer twice if we set them both equal to 0. And there's no need to do that. Alright, and now we're going to set each one of these equal to 0. So we're going to say x squared plus negative 25 equals 0. And 2x plus 3 equals 0. We solve this one. Get x squared equals 25. So again, that part has 2 solutions. We got x equals negative 5 and 5. And then we're going to solve this one. Get 2x equals negative 3. Divide by 2. And get x equals negative 3 halves. Okay, so I got 3 solutions. X equals negative 5, negative 3 halves, and positive 5. Again, it's a cubed one, so we've got 3 solutions. Alright, and we got one last example. Now this example says the length of a box is 3 inches less than the height, and the width is 9 inches less than the height. So the box has a volume of 324 cubic inches. Write a model you can solve to find the length, the height, and the width of the box. Okay? Well, we know that the length is 3 inches less than the height. So it's the height minus 3. Okay? And we also know that the width is 9 inches less than the height. So the height minus 9. Okay? And we're not told anything about the height, so the height is just the height. Okay? Now let's think about how we find volume of something. For volume, we take the length times the width times the height when it's a rectangular prism. Okay? So we're going to take the length times the width times the height. Okay, so my model is going to be h times, because that's the height, times h minus 3, which is the length, times h minus 9. Okay, which is the width. And that's going to be equal to 324 cubic inches. Okay? So there's a model. Now I'm going to go ahead and actually solve it here. It says to write a model for it. We're going to go ahead and solve it. Now, again, we can solve this in factored form only if it's equal to 0. Okay? Well, since it's not equal to 0, we're going to have to distribute this stuff out. Okay, first. So, first thing I'm going to do is FOIL these two. So we're going to have h times, and then I'm going to FOIL these. So outers is h squared the first is h squared, the outers is minus 9h, the inners minus 3h, and then the last plus 27. Okay? So we can condense that to say h times h squared minus 12h plus 27. And we forgot about this. Equals 324. Okay? Now we'll go ahead and distribute this out. So it's going to be h cubed minus 12h squared plus 27h equals 324. Now I've got an expression that I can set equal to 0. Okay? So I'm going to subtract 324 from both sides and get h cubed minus 12h squared plus 27h minus 324 equals 0. Okay? Now basically, to be able to figure this out, we need to solve for what the height is. Okay? So we're going to have to factor this expression, okay, and see what we get for possible values of h. So again, we're going to factor this. This is a polynomial, so we need to group it into two separate binomials, okay, to be able to factor it. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to group this into the first two. It's 12h squared, okay, plus 27h plus negative 324. Okay, and again, that's equal to 0. So now we're going to factor each part. Greatest common factor of h cubed and 12h squared is going to be h squared times h minus 12. Okay, plus sign. And then we have to figure out, does 27 go into 324? And if so, how many times does it go in? Okay, well the answer to that is yes, 27 does go into 324. Okay, so that's going to be our greatest common factor. So we're going to pull out the 27. And 27 times h gives me 27h plus negative. And 27 goes into 324 12 times. Okay, so we got the same factor on the inside. That's a good thing. Alright, so now let's go ahead and group our factors together. So we're going to have h squared plus 27 times h minus 12. Okay? Well, now we have to set each one of these equal to 0 here. Okay, so we're going to have, I'm going to go over here, we're going to go h squared plus 27 equals 0, and h minus 12 equals 0. Okay, well now let's think about this here. We're going to solve this out, and I'll solve this one over here. If we take away 27 from both sides, we're going to get h squared equals negative 27. Well, we can't have the square root of a negative number in real life examples, so that is automatically out for solutions. So that only leaves the other factor, h minus 12 equals 0. Okay, so if we add 12 to both sides, we get h equals 12. So our height is 12. Okay, so now if we know our height is 12, then we have to be able to figure out our length and our width. And again, our length was height minus 3. Okay, so our length is going to be the height 12 minus 3, which is 9. And the width was the height minus 9, so 12 minus 9 is 3. And these were all in inches. Okay, I'm going to slide this back up so we can see the original question. So this stuff might disappear. Make sure you have it written down. Okay. And so again, there's the answer to our question. There's our dimensions. Okay, in the original model, if they just asked for the model, we didn't actually need to solve it, but that's this right here. Okay, height times length times width equals the total volume. And we just went ahead and solved it for that example. Alright, that's your assignment, or your notes for this assignment. Happy homeworking.